What is up, Facebook Live? Good morning. Got some tractors making some new streets back there. It's a little noisy. We'll start off, as always, with some gratitude. What are y'all grateful for as y'all populate and connect here? Would love to know what you're grateful for. Feel free to leave us a comment and tell us the top 3 things that you were grateful for this morning.
I'm grateful for you.
My wife, does she want to jump in here? Here she is. She said she's grateful for me. Good morning, good morning. I'm grateful for you, loving. I'm grateful for this beautiful sunny day and the
tropical. Grateful for our health.
Grateful for our health as well.
And our family and friends.
And our family and friends. Grateful for them. What's up, y'all? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As y'all populate in, I'd love to know what are the top 3 things you are grateful for. Starting off the day strong. Always start with gratitude. So, good morning as all those numbers start populating up and more people start showing up in the room.
Good morning, party people!
Good morning. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get over and get through and get beyond procrastination.
Oh.
It was a question that came through from Cameron yesterday. Thank you for that, sir. I got it, and we got a little riff on it today. Good morning, good morning, good morning as everyone pops in. Feel free to let us know. Lee, good morning, sir. Well, good evening your time, but good morning. Feel free to tell us what are the top 3 things that you were grateful for in the comment section. So now as I see some gratitude start to pile in, we will get started. Just letting people find us this morning. Oh, also, if you know anyone who struggles with procrastination, make sure to click that share button and maybe tag them in it so they can join us real quick to tap into this. So if you're watching, top 3 things that you're grateful for, I'd love to hear it. Second, would love to know if you know anyone who's struggling with procrastination, please click the share button and invite them to come check this out and join us. So, a handful of people showed up. Welcome. Let's jump right in. So with procrastination, first let's rewind and think of, whoa, sorry, there's a lizard running by my feet. He's getting crazy this morning. So with procrastination, if we were to jump in and talk about this, when, where, and why does this show up? So if you have a pen and paper, you're taking notes for this, really truly write down, where do you procrastinate most in your life? Usually people procrastinate in some areas, but not all areas. Meaning it's like, oh, with reading, I tend to put it off. With working out, I tend to avoid it. And you choose certain subjects that you procrastinate in because I'm guessing there's other subjects in your life that you never procrastinate. Cameron, morning, man. We're talking about procrastination. So we're really going to zoom in and say, what are the key areas of your life that you tend to procrastinate in? And when you identify the top 3 or 4 areas, the next thing I want you to do at the exact same moment, Nicole, good morning. The next thing I want you to do is identify correspondingly. If you were to draw a line down the middle of your page,
watch your feet.
On one side, whoa, dog left us a present. On one side, what I want you to write down is the top 3 to 5 areas you procrastinate in. On the other side, I want you to write down 3 or 4 areas that you seem to never procrastinate in your life. Meaning when those topics come up, when those subjects are present, you just are full action taker, you make it happen, you find a way, you make a way, you create a way, and literally nothing can stop you. And what we then want to identify is not only what topics cause you to procrastinate, but when do you procrastinate? Because here's another section that's really interesting. There's some people that let's use the gym, for example. We're walking back from the gym this morning. Some people say, oh, I always procrastinate when I want to work out. I never seem to get there. And if you listen to their language, first off, you got to get specific. And you got to narrow down the words that are limiting them. So first off, I never seem to do it. Never? You have to question that. Never? You never work out. Well, you know what I mean. No, I don't know what you mean. Be specific. Sometimes I miss my workout in the morning. Oh, sometimes. Okay, let's ask a better question. When specifically do you miss your workout in the mornings? And they go, oh, I miss it in the mornings when, and they tell you a very specific circumstance that causes them to miss their morning workout or miss their morning routine. Now what you want to do is, now we've narrowed and gotten very specific on exactly what's causing them to procrastinate, what's causing them not to get to what they want to do. Now we work around solving that specific challenge, issue, or topic. What most people do, and their first mistake is, one, they don't know what they procrastinate on. They just call themselves a procrastinator, which isn't true because there's other areas of life that they never procrastinated. 2, they are so broad around how, when, where, and why they procrastinate that they don't know any specific instance that they can work on. So the second part is, once you can get a specific instance and time of day and subject that you procrastinate on, now we can get to work on that. So let's say they always miss when their alarm clock goes off at a certain time. If they don't wake up immediately and get out of bed, they tend to not get into motion very quickly. Well, that's easy. Now you make the task to say, listen, the only thing to focus on is the moment your alarm clock goes off, I want you up on your feet and out of bed as fast as humanly possible. And that's the goal. And what happens in that moment is now the person knows exactly what they have to do to get over procrastination. All they have to do is focus on the micro goal that is the trigger to set them off into the positive routine they're trying to adapt to, if that makes sense. So Cam, if you're struggling with something specific, I'd love a couple examples. If anyone on here struggles specifically with procrastination in their life or their business or something they do, I'd love to chat with you on it real quick. We'll do it through the comment section. And I'll give you some specific tips. But so far, number 1, identify when and where you procrastinate. Number 2, identify, when and where you never procrastinate. And what you want to do is compare and contrast and look for what is the difference from times that you do procrastinate and times that you don't. Working out for sure, okay? When specifically working out? In the mornings, at night, in the afternoons? And Cam, what I have you identify is, first, where do you procrastinate and when do you procrastinate? Morning, Mike. I'm grateful for my mom too. Where and when do you procrastinate? And also, where and when do you not procrastinate? And when you can identify the difference, what I'd love to know is, what do you see that's different between the two times? And you'll start to notice there is a difference. There is a difference between the moments when you do and the moments when you don't. And as you identify as many of those, is it the time of day? Is it what you've eaten? Is it how early or late it is? Is it who else is involved? Is it what else you're doing? So it's in the morning when you're at home. So in the morning when you're at home, and is it like right when you wake up? Is it midway through your morning routine? What are the key triggers or the key steps that start you from the moment you wake up to the time when you're quote unquote supposed to work out when you don't? What are the key steps? Now, if you're listening here and you've identified an area where you procrastinate and the time of day and when and where, let's see. When I feel settled and I have nothing else to do when it's the last priority. There's some keys there. So when I have nothing else to do, I feel settled, and when it's the last priority. So I would challenge you to say, hey, how do we get you to, number 1, never have nothing else to do? So there's a big challenge you're facing, is the fact that you have nothing else to do. The truth is, I'm guessing in your life, you probably have so many things on your bucket list or your dream list or things that you would love to do with your life that you're currently just not focused on. And so one thing I would have you do personally, from a coaching perspective, if I have permission, I would ask you to create a bucket list, and not just one that you read on paper of like skydiving and race car driving and that kind of stuff. That's cool too. But I'd have you create an ongoing daily bucket list of things, little tiny things, big things, middle-sized things, little things that you want to experience continuously throughout your day. So everything between, one of my friends, I'll tell you where this came from. One of my friends, he lives in Las Vegas. He was at 18 years old, not lucky enough, he built it. He built himself a real estate as an agent, then he built himself an office, and then he invested in investment properties, and by the time he was in his mid-20s, he was making enough passive income from rental fees and from his real estate venture that he literally doesn't have to work again. He will have enough money to have a very nice life for the rest of his life without ever working again. And so what's interesting is I asked him, what do you do then? Money is not an option. And for most people, it's still something they have to work towards. But for this gentleman, it's not a worry. He's got it. And so I asked him, what do you do? And he told me, he said, I keep an ongoing running bucket list of big things, little things, and tiny things that I want to experience in my life. And every single time I get a minute of time, 5 minutes, my plane's delayed 10 minutes, I'm in the doctor's waiting office for 15 minutes. Anytime there's a little itty bitty gap of time that exists anywhere in my life, I take something off of that ongoing list and I plug it into those moments so that I can experience the richness of life in that moment. And I'm like, wow, what a great idea. And I said, well, tell me some of the things on your list. And he said, learning how to hacky sack, learning how to play the piano, learning how to speak another language, learning how to paint, learning how to do origami, learning how to practicing hopscotch, starting a random flash mob. Like, he had an ongoing list of the most random stuff that he always wanted to experience in his life that would make him feel alive, make him feel excited, make him feel passionate. And on that list, every single time there was a moment, he would be like, shit, I can squeeze more juice out of life right now. What do I have that I could put into this moment? And so his life, if you asked him, are you ever bored? Do you ever have nothing to do? He'd be like, are you joking? I have an endless list of ridiculously awesome things I've always wanted to experience that I cannot wait for someone to miss a meeting with me. I can't wait for something, a little gap of time to exist in my life so I can literally plug it into those moments because there's so much I want to do. And I said, it's interesting. I said, how does that play? Do you ever procrastinate on things? And he thought about it. He scratched his head and he's like, not really. I said, why not? And he's like, because there's so much I want to do. I just plug as much as I can in as fast as possible to squeeze it into my life. Some of the stuff was family. Some of the stuff was friends. Some of the stuff's about traveling. Some of the stuff's about learning. Some of the stuff's about giving. Some of the stuff's about growing. But he's always plugging things into his life. At every moment he can squeeze it in to get the most out of it. So Cam, going back to that thought process, you said, when you have nothing else to do. So I've also noticed on here, as you commented, you have a list like that. So the truth is you do have plenty of things you want to do. You're just choosing not to remember that at that moment. So one thing that might be really smart is taking that specific list and keeping it right smack in front of you, either putting it as the backdrop of your phone, keeping it as a note, writing it out physically and keeping it, laminated near you and cross it off with a pen as soon as you complete them. But you want to keep that list as close as humanly possible to you so that legitimately and literally it's right smack in front of your face so that when you say, oh, I have nothing else to do, you're like, no, are you joking? I can't wait to get started on this freaking list. And now you have leverage because you want to get to the list. Now you have the discipline to say, the only way I can get to this list is as soon as I complete all the commitments I've made to myself. Now your commitment is to wake up and work out. You go make that commitment. Now that the commitment's done, now if you still have time before other things that are priorities and commitments that have to happen, you can squeeze some of those things into your life at that moment in the morning, and all of a sudden, bam, you're on fire. So that's a very specific example for people tuning in that has to do with someone, Cam, who was asking questions here yesterday. If you have questions you want me to answer on here, feel free to send them to us via message or via the comment section here, and I'll do my best to include it and talk to you about it in the morning. But for everyone else who has a more bland thing that they procrastinate on, one of the number one techniques I could tell you of how to get stuff done is literally take the hardest, most difficult thing that you avoid the most and put it as the number one most important thing that you do very first thing in the morning. So wake up, have your morning routine. If you mentally, emotionally, physically get yourself revved up. My wife and I were researching some stuff that showed yesterday most people's brains are not fully activated and turned on until about an hour and a half to 2 hours after waking up. So if you wake up and immediately try to make really important decisions or answer people's responses or answer texts and messages and calls and everything prior to activating your body and brain, you're truly not operating at full capacity. So the science and research suggests we're doing a whole JRC TV episode on it in the next couple of weeks. We've already filmed it yesterday. But the science suggests you need some type of routine, whether it's meditation, working out, going for a run, doing some breathing, something mentally, emotionally, physically stimulating, just like a car engine to turn your brain on and get it running and moving at the highest capacity possible, then get into your day. So what I would say is first, have a morning routine if you're not familiar. We talk about it all the time. Look through some of these videos, look through our blog at jarekrobbins.com/blog. We have tons of conversation about that morning routine. Once you have that morning routine, the next step is eat a couple frogs or handle the hardest stuff first. And what that means is go after the hardest, slipperiest, grossest parts that you have to get done first. Do those immediately when you're at your best version of yourself, because you'll have the most momentum, the most focus, the most intensity, and the most passion behind your energy at that moment. That's when to handle the tough stuff. And when you do that and you get into that motion, you'll start crushing it very quickly. That's some tips on procrastination. Let's see. There's some comments popping in here. Cameron, love the idea. Awesome. Lee, I sometimes procrastinate when task project I need to do is very challenging or difficult, perhaps worrying how much time it will take. I have to wear so many hats. I'm working in my own business, accounts, design, performing, but I like to do everything myself. Awesome. So Lee, again, Put the most challenging stuff first. When you're in your best state, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually to an extent, you're your best place possible, your highest peak energy-wise of the day, that's the moment to attack the most difficult things first, because you'll get those out of the way. Everything else is easy from that point forward. Ray, Jairek, you couldn't be more right. Thanks for the insight. Awesome, buddy. Glad you shared. For everyone here, there's a handful of people who are still live with us. Please click the share button. Please pass this on and let other people know if they struggle with procrastination, or someone, tag them in the feed and tell them to watch this. And please send us your questions, send us your thoughts. I'm going to go do a question of the day podcast right now. Exactly, buddy. We wrote a whole chapter in our book, Cameron, that the easy hard versus the hard easy. If you do the hard stuff first, everything else is easy. Most people try to take the easy path in life and land up spending their whole lifetime doing hard shit from that point forward. If you're willing to do the hard stuff first and live unreasonably with yourself in the beginning, you're going to get some unreasonable results over time, and life will become much easier over time because you've built such a strong mental, emotional, physical muscle that it's much easier from that point forward. Anyways, hope you all have a great day. I'm going to jump, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.